questionable war crimes.
Yes, you do.
And
Heads up, in 10 minutes, I may need to go check the oven, but also my mother may be home, so it may be fine.
Okay. Can we get her on the mic?
Probably not.
Okay. That's unfortunate.
I mean,
Very
I can
unfortunate.
ask her, but she's probably going to be like, my patient came in this week and they didn't do any of their exercises and they lied and they said they did. That's probably how that's going to go.
Aaron, I appreciate Tiny Assassin Droid as your name as well. I chose the legendary Appetite of Orin Frital.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I have so many pages of quotes up here.
Yeah, because it's 3 of the best episodes. I love these
The
episodes.
legendary
All right, let's get started. I have a milk stain on my shirt. That's unfortunate, but that's going to happen a lot.
baby stuff.
Hello and welcome back to Star Wars Generations. We are off our hiatus.
Woo.
We are off our hiatus. I and my partner have created a new youngling and have managed to keep it alive for 4 weeks officially today.
Wild.
Quite a feat. Alex has been going great things at his work. Aaron has been trying and failing to break the laws of gravity, falling down a mountain. All of us have had adventures. All of us are doing crazy things, but the summer's almost over and we are ready to come back to you all with some Star Wars talk. And we are continuing our journey through Star Wars with our journey through the Clone Wars, where each of us picks our favorite arc from a season, our favorite episodes from a season, and we go from there. So we're kicking off season 2 now. And Alex, you chose episodes 12, 13, and 14, the
Yes.
Mandalore plot, the Mandalore Arc. Individually, the episodes are called The Mandalore Plot, Voyage of Temptation, and then Duchess of Mandalore. Why'd you pick these episodes?
Well, within the Clone Wars, this is really the deep introduction to the fact that, well, first of all, you get a deeper introduction into Duchess Satine, who I think is one of the most compelling characters in the Clone Wars. She's a badass. She before this, when you thought of Mandalore, you thought of Mandalorians, you just thought of Boba or Jango Fett in their clone arm, in their Mandalorian armor. And never in a million years, when you visit Mandalore, would you thought, oh, an entire planet of pacifists. And here we are. And then you get to one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, obviously, is Obi-Wan. And you get to see that he was actually in love with Satine. You get always just little crazy lore drops about Obi-Wan and Satine's past, and see how a civil war is about to break out that eventually leads to tons of other events in the Clone Wars. So it's just, to me, it's the beginning of a really big nexus point in the Clone Wars, being Mandalore and the events that surround it. And we get to see Anakin commit a kind of a war crime that I will defend him about later.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So let me just give a quick summary. First of all, let me actually say, in a moment that is just great for radio, Erin was showing off her nails, which I believe are Obi-Wan colored.
For sure.
Orange and white there, which is looking pretty awesome. Again, fantastic for radio. But let me give a quick summary of what happens. There's so many more details that we'll get into. But the episodes are about the planet Mandalore, which is obviously home of the Mandalorians. And at this point in time, the planet is also the head of the League of Non-Aligned Worlds, which is very much a play on, I believe it's called the League of Non-Aligned Nations or something like that, a group of nations during the Cold War that didn't want to officially associate with the U.S. or the USSR. Here they're in that same place. There's a concern that the government is about to join the Separatists, or that there's some kind of conflict happening, and the Republic might need to send the Jedi to keep Mandalore neutral, or maybe even bring it in on the side of the Republic in the Civil War. But the Duchess of Mandalore, Satine, who, as you talked about, is an ex-flame of Obi-Wan, in a way we'll greatly talk about. She's fighting hard against this. She's pushing against it. It becomes revealed that she has basically made Mandalore into a peaceful planet, a pacifist planet. As she understands it, they've gotten rid of their warrior past because it just led to civil war, fighting. And all of those old warriors have been exiled to the moon of Concordia, where it's believed they've all kind of died out. Of course, though, that's not true. We find out that Concordia is trying to kind of overthrow the people of Mandalore, overthrow the government of Mandalore, take it over, and make it a big warrior center again. And of course, it is the Separatists who are behind that, trying to help a man named Vizsla take over. And if Vizsla sounds familiar, yes, this is the Vizsla clan that will eventually lead to Pre-Vizsla and some of the other Vizslas who are antagonists for our hero Din Djarin in the Mandalorian show and other things like that.
This is pre-Vizsla.
This is
Pre-Vizsla.
Pre-Vizsla. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then later it's a different Vizsla
Like
that
Pa
I think it's
Vizsla or
Paz
something.
Vizsla
Paz, yeah.
Yeah, I
who
think you're right.
interacts
Okay.
with the Mandalorian and the armorer.
The Vizsla clan, they're all connected to. This is the introduction of Death Watch, which is who eventually become the Children of the Watch. But it's all one line of Mandalorian clan right there.
Right. They're certainly all connected. I'm not positive it's one line, but that's for another time. But yeah, so and there's this conflict, and Satine is kind of in this middle ground where on the one hand she's trying very hard to not lose to Death Watch, but also she knows that if she brings in the Republic and the Jedi especially, Mandalore has this long history of being anti the Jedi and also just anti-occupation for understandable reasons, that it will drive the populace into the arms of Death Watch, which, by the way, there's a long history of this. You know, every time the U.S. went in to prop up a government that wasn't popular, or the USSR did that in other places like Afghanistan or whatever it was, like the population often rises up because they see this foreign group as an occupier, even if they're claiming to help. So Satine's in this hard position. They go on a journey to Coruscant so that she can speak before the Senate, and then there's shenanigans that happen on that journey. And then finally they arrive in Coruscant in our last episode, and there's this sort of plot to frame her and to make it look like the people desperately want this help, but that she is standing in the way of it, etc. And when the Republic forces are just about to launch their armada and sail to Mandalore, the true plot is revealed. It comes out that this was all a hoax, faked data, etc., and that actually the people of Mandalore don't want this help, and so the Jedi and the Chancellor Palpatine pull back and don't give it. Is that an accurate summary, we think? We're not getting into all the details, obviously, but does that hit the main plot
It's
points?
pretty. It's pretty. Yeah, we're gonna get the details in a minute here. That's pretty accurate. I guess and that voyage. Did you mention the assassination attempt on the voyage? I
they tried to
was
kill
looking
Satine
at
on the
Aaron.
voyage.
Aaron just messaged that she's gonna be MIA for a minute.
Okay.
But yeah, it seems pretty accurate to me. So it's a lot of, you know, and a lot of just assassination attempts and like Obi-Wan discovering the secrets that then brings the attention of Satine, and it just opens a can of worms.
And I think this episode this arc is an Obi-Wan arc. He is very
Yeah.
him and Satine are the main characters. We have a lot to say about them. Anakin is mostly off screen or just there to sort of be, you know, a helper to Obi-Wan. But he has one pivotal moment that I think is really central to his character. Alex, tell us what happens.
Well, listen, justifiably, Anakin stepped. Okay, so in the second episode of the arc, you know, there is a plot to assassinate the Duchess Satine, and all these like droids are released on the ship to try and kill her. They're all basically destroyed by Anakin and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan keeps one of the small, tiny assassin droids intact so that he can figure out who on board was trying to kill her. He determines it to be one of the senators. What's the senator's name?
Tal Merrick.
Thank you, Tal Merrick. And Tal Merrick takes Satine hostage. He backs up and trying to escape, and it basically Obi-Wan is left with like, you know, trying to save her. He gets her free, and Obi-Wan has his lightsaber out. Satine gets a gun and has it pointed at him, and Tal Merrick is like, interesting. Like, Satine, you're a pacifist. If you kill me, like, then you're breaking everything you hold dear. If Obi-Wan kills me, he'd be justified. He's a Jedi, but he would never do that in front of like this woman he loves, basically in front of you. Like, it would change her opinion of you. And while he's like gloating about how neither one of them will kill him, Anakin out of nowhere just stabs him in the back with a lightsaber. I should clarify this whole time, Tal Malik does have a detonator in his hand to blow up the ship. So there is like a little standoff going on. But Anakin just kills him, grabs the detonator, and Obi-Wan just goes, Anakin. And he's like, what? He was going to blow up the ship. So my man saved everyone's life is what I am hearing.
I want to read the exact lines because it is so perfect. It's some of the best filmmaking that I think Star Wars has ever done.
It's incredible.
Tal Merrick says, what are you going to do? If you shoot me, you brand yourself a hypocrite to every pacifist idea you hold dear. Speaking to Satine. And you, Kenobi, you're no stranger to violence. You'll be hailed as a hero by everyone in the ship. Well, almost everyone. And he looks to Satine. And then he says, come on then. Who will strike first and brand themselves a cold-blooded killer? And then a moment later, who will brand themselves a cold-blooded killer? We see the light. We just see the blue lightsaber come out of the front of his chest. And then see Anakin. And Aaron, what happens right as we see Anakin and realize he's the killer?
So he stabs right through Talmarek. Everyone goes, and then it goes, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And that's it. Just a tiny bit of the Emperor's theme, or sorry, Darth Vader's theme, to remind us the villain he will turn into, and how choices like this drove him to become the person that is Darth Vader.
Was this a villainous act?
That moment, I think, and I'm not sure. We've talked at endless amounts about the prequels, but for me, that moment better helps me understand his path to the dark side than anything in the prequels. Like, it was just so well done.
It was really well done. I think it, like this episode, or that episode specifically, the final episode, and the way they set that up is just a beautiful way to portray to people how Anakin ended up the way he did, while also introducing this new important character and showing us that Obi-Wan has a soft side, and he did consider leaving the Jedi Order, but he didn't know if that's what she wanted, so he did.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet. I got thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, okay.
That's the episode that we're talking about.
Well, there's one more thing on the Anakin note. I just want to say that, like, couldn't cut off his arm and probably gotten the same, thing done. Sure. But, like, I don't know. It's just job to keep the peace. And this man was threatening to blow up the ship, kill everybody, and tried to kill Justice Satine this whole time. So I feel like, a little murder there was probably acceptable in this instance.
So here's my take on it and why I think it is so perfect. As I understand it, one of the things that has been established is that there is a difference between the vows that the Jedi take and what might normal people feel is like moral or okay. And that Leia, for example, Leia Organa, then Senator and then General Organa, one of the reasons why she doesn't want to be a Jedi is because she feels like she wants to do the right thing, but she wants to fight dirty. She wants to get down to the trenches. She wants to cut corners, and you can't do that as a Jedi. I think the best way to describe it is for people who know D&D, the Jedi are paladins.
Yeah.
Like, there are other people who can be just as good, but they don't have vows. And I think part of the whole point is that the Force is so powerful. And you're fighting against one of the most dangerous and corrupting instincts is, I have the power to do what's right to make things better. And a lot of the Jedi vows, as problematic as I think a lot of them are, but a lot of them are around stopping a person from going too far and of allowing themselves to think, I should use this power to force goodness on the rest of us. To, as they do say in the second movie, Attack of the Clones, he just wants to just force everybody to listen and do the right thing. His goals are completely benevolent, but the way he wants to do it is authoritarianism. And this moment, to me, is exactly that. Because you are right. I think that, yes, you can do a fancy trick shot. You can cut off the guy's arm. You can talk to him for another hour and maybe talk him out of it. But if a security guard had come along and just phaser blasted the guy knowing Anakin could catch it, I have no problem whatsoever. It's that Anakin is crossing the line. And to me, I've thrown 8 million metaphors into this, and I apologize, but I do think that the path to the dark side is paved with good intentions. Like, you start down the road to the dark side by taking matters of life and death and things like that into your own hands for what you see are, and may well be, the best of possible reasons.
Well, have either of you seen Death Note, the anime?
No.
Okay. Well, the premise is that, like, a guy finds a journal that you can write anyone's name in, and they will end up dying, and he uses it at first to, like, kill murderers and, like, horrible criminals, but then slowly, like, gets drunk with the power and just starts killing other people. And it's kind of a similar vibe of, like, that power where you think you're doing good. It's like, everyone I'm killing with this notebook is evil, or evil people, but then you are the one determining that they're evil. You are being the single lens of justice. And, like, Talmarek rather, was doing what he thought was right. And it was, I mean, clearly to our perspective, he was being evil, but I see what you're saying, Matthew, like, that's not Anakin's, job alone to determine. There is a judicial system, there are courts. Like, he could have cut his arm off or like done it in a non-lethal way, but Anakin just went right for the dramatic kill shot.
Mm-hmm.
And something I think that's kind of we're shown throughout this series about Anakin is that it's like, I don't think in his mind he's like, oh, would the Jedi approve of this? I think in his mind he's like, I am a soldier. These men, the clones beside me, are soldiers. Would they do this to get it done? Yes. So I will have to do it to get it done.
Alex, you don't have to.
I want to add to that. Matthew, I'm assuming Matthew, you've seen the new Superman movie.
Yes, I have.
It feels very similar to very small spoilers for those who haven't seen it, but like when Superman and Lois Lane are having the conversation about his invasion, and he's like, people were going to die, I had to intervene, and she's like, it's not your job to make that unilateral decision. It's a little different, obviously, but like similar vein of like people with power. When can these people make decisions on who can die and who can live? Is it their right to do that in those situations? Because Anakin, maybe in his mind, was thinking like, everyone here is in danger. Killing this one person, utilitarianism, killing this one person saved everyone else, then it's fine. But there were other routes to take. It's just interesting.
Right. No, I think it really is. I think that's part of the point, is that there are times when the Jedi vows prevent someone from doing what is clearly the best thing to do in the moment. And that's a lot of where the paradox come from. And that's what Palpatine's able to exploit. Because, and I do just want to say about Superman, to me, I don't think that's applicable. I think the better comparison is when Hawkgirl decides to just
that's a good one.
dictator. When Superman probably would not want anything to do with that, but she's just still a hero. She's a different kind of hero. But Superman is like, anyway, I don't want to go too far in that metaphor. But, and I think, Aaron, to your point, the key here is Obi-Wan doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
Like, if you're supposed to be training someone to be a soldier and they kill someone they're not supposed to kill, you shouldn't roll your eyes. Like, Obi-Wan should in this moment be like, Anakin, no, I appreciate why you did that. And yes, you prevented a tragedy, but we as Jedi can't act that way. We can't be cold-blooded killers.
Mhm.
We had to find another way. And I think, to me, that's very significant because it sets up this theme of, and I'm not anytime we start assigning who is to blame for Anakin, I think people treat it as a zero-sum game. I don't mean it that way.
Right.
Anakin is, at the end of the day, completely to blame for his own choices. But there
Mhm.
are other people who made choices that created the situations where if they'd made different choices, I think Anakin might have made different choices as well. And so everybody can be 100% to blame. Like, it's not
Anakin's a product of the system, but he still made the choices in the end.
Exactly. And I think one cog in the system here is that Obi-Wan won't hold him accountable. And I think that's very significant because, and we can start talking about this now or in a little bit, but this episodes, I think more than anything, are about Obi-Wan having this regret that he didn't go after Satine and he didn't allow himself to have that love, and that maybe that's why he kind of looks the other way with Anakin and Padme. And so to me, I think I hadn't even thought of it like this, but Aaron, you picked up something so great. It Obi-Wan not saying anything, Obi-Wan not holding him accountable, is a big part of why Anakin doesn't see that what he just did was a major violation.
He does say, "Oh, Anakin."
That's his form of denial.
There's
He's
a little
like,
fatherly
oh,
disapproval.
Anakin.
There's a little fatherly disapproval. Can we? Are we done talking about this? Can I hop back for a second? Oh, sorry,
Let me
go ahead,
ask
Matthew.
one question. Am I making things up, or is this the second time where this kind of thing happens? Doesn't this also happen with one of the not Neomodians, but someone from one of the other alien races that we see a bunch?
I know he does it to Admiral Trench late. But he does that at the that's like final season of the Clone Wars where he's like, "You won't kill me," and Anakin hits him, and it's like, I am not, I think, am I confined by such weaknesses or something?
Yeah. Did he kill Lot Dodd from the Arc with the Scottish monkeys?
Aaron, you're going a little robot for me. Am I getting cut off?
Thank you. Aaron asked, did he kill Lot Dodd?
Oh, when? Which arc?
The arc with the Scottish monkeys. I don't think he did, but that's the only other instance where I can
Did
think
you
of
just say
him.
The Scottish monkey? What show are you watching?
The Lemurs, first season. We talked about this.
Oh. No, they didn't kill him. They just caught him. He force holds him in the air.
Yeah.
The Scottish monkeys.
I mean, what did you want me to
No,
say?
they're pacifists. They're
I'm sorry, I
leaders.
just could not think. I was so confused.
Anyway, let's now move on to more of the episode.
Yeah, can we
Alex.
let's hop back an episode real quick. So like Obi-Wan shows up to the planet because there's like, been shit going on. And Satine first is like in denial. She is like, there's nothing going on. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. Like it's all limited issue, like Death Watch isn't here, but this isn't the Death Watch. Like she's just like is so like she doesn't want to believe it, I feel like. And Obi-Wan is like, dude, like Death Watch just literally claimed this terrorist attack when like they blew up this building and killed a bunch of people, and then the actual suicide bomber ended up killing himself in front of them. Like it's very like we see a man jump off a balcony to kill himself on screen.
Mhm.
It's a very like violent episode where we're seeing like people making themselves martyrs because they believe that Satine is like ruining their culture, that the warrior culture must return. And Obi-Wan is just like sucked into this, and I feel like he's so torn in this mindset of like, I need to like, get this under control, but like this woman I love is in denial, and he's like trying to almost be like caring for her, but like trying to get her to see the truth. I don't know. It's a very interesting start to the arc to me.
I don't think she's in denial. I think she's denying it to him because she doesn't want him to. I think it's the kind of thing where someone and it's probably half and half. Where like think of someone who like yes they have some awareness of a problem, but they also don't want other people to think they have a problem because then the other people are going to try and help and they think that's going to make it worse. And maybe part of that's because they're not realizing how bad the problem is. But I think the fact that if she says Obi-Wan, yes, I have a problem, he's going to bring all the Jedi to come help her. And it's going to make everything worse. And so I think that's the tension there. What I really love is that for rom-com love, to me, the first episode is straight up rom-com. And it is one of the best, like, enemies. Well, I don't know if this is the enemies to lovers as much as it is the people who flirt by sniping at each other and act like they can't stand each other. It's very much Much Ado About Nothing, if you know the Benedict and I forget her name character, Beatrice, Benedict and Beatrice characters. And just they have so many great back and forths, and I would want to share one or two of them. Am I looking at the wrong episode? Oh yeah, so like give a couple examples. Satine Kryze, after she saves him, I suppose we're even now. Obi-Wan, how so? I saved your life, you saved mine. Obi-Wan, yes, well mine was the more daring of the two rescues. I'm going to take out the whole part where I read the quotes because I can't quite find it. But yeah, what did you guys think of that? That kind of like the sniping that clearly is a flirtation.
They love to pretend they're not in love with each other.
Yeah.
Like they love to make it about war versus pacifism. And there's actually, I had a few quotes from, I think maybe the moments you're talking of. There's a few actually from the first episode I wrote down. One is where Satine says the work of a peacekeeper is to make sure conflict doesn't arrive. Obi-Wan responds, yes, a noble description, but not a realistic one. Satine said, is reality what makes a Jedi abandon his ideals? Or is it simply a response to political convenience? And like, she fucking had his number. She sniped his ass. And then there was a bombing that distracted everybody. But she fucking got him.
Yeah.
And they're both such
number of times
sophisticated
he
people.
plays with this idea that the Jedi see themselves as peacemakers.
Yeah.
And one of them is to Anakin, because Anakin says something about, like, as a peacemaker, I have to be on the front lines of the conflict. And she's like, do you hear that contradiction? But most of it is between her and Obi-Wan. They fight about, like, rescuing each other. They fight about, think of every rom-com where they're just fighting and fighting. You're like, will you two please just kiss already?
Yeah, they need to get a room.
Yeah, it's 100% these two.
For real.
It is revealed, to Anakin basically like asked about the nature of the relationship in the later episode, and like it's revealed that like Obi-Wan was on a mission with Qui-Gon when he was still Qui-Gon's Padawan, like a year-long mission, like protecting Satine. We were on the run, running away from like it sounded very like romantic and like scandalous, like young love, like they're fleeing together, they're fighting danger, and it's like, oh my god, Obi-Wan. And so it actually, like, I will say that, like, the romance though, even though it's very like funny to watch them like poke at each other, and a lot of what they say it kind of hits home, it kind of helps me understand a little bit more why Obi-Wan was not harsher on Anakin throughout like his relationship with Padme, because you see that like Obi-Wan experienced that weakness, and probably in his mind he's like, I overcame it. Like I still have these feelings for Satine, but I'm able to like control them, overcome them, and be like a successful Jedi, whatever way you want to look at that. When I say successful, I mean like not turn to the dark side. And Anakin, I think he believes that, like, well, Anakin, he has this, feelings for Padme. Like, I know that exists, but like, he also could overcome it. He also, like, it won't deter him. Like, I think Obi-Wan just thinks that because he got through it or is able to control it, then Anakin can too. And it's just a very like skewed perspective based on his own experiences. But I get from a human side, I get it, like why he was so lenient with Anakin. But it is Obi-Wan's own weakness there that ends up leading to Anakin going farther down the dark side rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think I see it similarly, but I don't buy that Anakin just completely. I don't buy that Obi-Wan didn't know that Anakin and Padme were together.
Oh, he knew.
Oh, he knew.
Oh, okay, I thought you were saying that that's why because he thinks Anakin can resist. Yeah.
No, I'm saying I think that I think that because like Obi-Wan even says in the second episode, had you said it, I would have left the Jedi Order. I think Obi-Wan believes Anakin's so young, like he'll get over Padme, just like Obi-Wan himself got over Satine. And I think there's like this misconception that like if Obi-Wan could overcome my love, Anakin can do the same thing. Like it'll be fine. He'll get through it, and doesn't like take it more seriously like it needs to be taken.
I see it a bit differently, but it's probably a mix of all of them, because to me it's more as someone who had to give up Satine, and that was so painful and so hard, and maybe a part of him still regrets it, that he kind of can't bring himself to stop Anakin. He can't bring him, like, he's sort of like, maybe he trusts Anakin not to go too far, but he's sort of like, I'm going to let Anakin have with Padme what I didn't, or maybe what Qui-Gon didn't allow me to have with Satine. Like, it's that kind of like, I made this mistake long ago, and I'm not going to force Anakin to do the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's a good point about just like how conflicted Obi-Wan is in the balance between like, well, we went through, like, we're going through the same thing. I had this struggle when I was his age, like he'll grow out of it, versus like Obi-Wan really sitting and reconciling with his true feelings for Satine, and how even now he'd probably leave the Order for her if she said, and kind of hoping maybe Anakin doesn't see that aspect of it, maybe hoping he doesn't understand how far it can go.
Yeah. I mean, Anakin at one point says, why don't I go do this, you go save your girlfriend, and Obi-Wan's immediately like, no, she's not my girlfriend.
She's not my girlfriend, yeah.
Anakin kind of rolls his eyes, and they go along, yeah. You know, I think you're right, and Alex has disappeared for a second, but he'll probably be back in a moment. For me, this really shows, and you can blame Obi-Wan on it, but I think also much more I blame the Jedi themselves, that at this point there's this real culture of kind of like, we don't talk, like, the official line is we don't have attachments, and that basically means we don't have romantic sexual connections with people of any kind. And clearly Obi-Wan wrestled with that, and now Anakin is wrestling with it, but because of this kind of culture, it's a culture of repression, and they can't talk to each other about it. And Obi-Wan can't say to Anakin, look, hey, you saw me in Satine, let's talk about you and Padme, and let's help you figure out what's the right thing to do, because of this culture of secrecy. And this really shows why that is just so destructive.
Yeah, it's interesting how the Jedi handle relationships like that, because I understand, they're like very strict, no attachments, but it's interesting to see through Obi-Wan, through Anakin, through even other Jedi, how that aspect really doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I think, even talking back to the Acolyte, like asking one twin to give up the attachment to the other, like, it's not possible, it's not doable, and it's not realistic for people. Like, I think of it this way, if every Jedi were to 100,000% swear themselves to every moral and idealism of the Jedi, we'd have like 6 Jedi. Because there's no way that all of them are going to agree to this. And I see it as though like the Jedi kind of nod their heads in service, you know, and then they go home and they kind of work out what they think is the type of society or religion or culture that they can actually follow and actually take part in. And I think that Quinlan Voss is a great example of that.
Yeah. Yeah, because Quinlan Voss is happy being a Jedi F-boy. You know, he will be like, I can sleep with people, I just can't develop attachments with them. He probably talks about it in like more like I can have physical relations with them. And I also really like that you brought up the twin relationship from Acolyte, because I don't think this is just about romantic love or sexual attraction. In the book Darth Plagueis, which we've talked about quite a lot, one of the things that it gets into is that when at the end of Phantom Menace, all of the Jedi who themselves all became Jedi at very, very young age, they don't remember their families, they never had family attachments to get rid of. And so Palpatine is the only one who understands that you can't just tell this 6-year-old, stop thinking about your mother.
Yeah.
And that it's his attachment to his mother that he can't let go of, and that the others aren't really helping him with that because they don't understand it, and he's good at hiding it from them even then, that of course then leads him to go slaughter the Tusken people in episode 2 and all that.
Yeah, it doesn't get us very good places by just ignoring the Jedi.
Yeah.
And ignoring the parts of the Jedi culture you don't believe in.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Is Satine right?
That's a huge question. I think seeing this series in this time period of Star Wars through 2020, like you know, retroactive vision, I think she's wrong, because the way that Count Dooku was approaching everything, the way that Sidious was driving the Separatists, there's really no way to get out of it without at least some conflict.
Right.
And so I think her, you know, living and dying on the hill of, we will only use deactivators, we will never use lethal force, we will never like stoop to the level of those who hurt each other to get what they want. And I understand that, and I think that's a really important point to be aware of and keep in mind. But in the story of Star Wars and what we know of Palpatine and the Republic and the Separatists, I don't think she was right. I don't think there was any reality in which Satine doesn't end up as a martyr.
That makes sense.
Hello.
Hey, Alex, welcome back.
We
Thank
were
you.
addressing the question of, was Satine right?
In what regard?
Well,
In
that's
regards-
where I will kind of jump into it, because I think there's two main questions that Satine is standing strong on. One is this idea of holding the pacifist culture that she's trying to push on Mandalore and fully abandoning the warrior culture of its history. And the other is on her idea that the Jedi should not come and help in this fight they're having with Death Watch. And I think and I think, Aaron, you may be in the same boat. You can tell me. I feel like she is wrong on the first and right on the second. And you were mostly talking about that first decision, Aaron, so that's why I think we may be in agreement, but you can confirm or deny. Because I think you're right. To me, a lot of what this is about is extremism. And I think one of, I'm a big believer in kind of pendulum theories, and that like the more a pendulum swings one way, the more it's going to swing the other way. And Mandalore had been such an extremist, violent culture that, now it swings way too far to this complete pacifism side, where you're right, like the Separatists are attacking, something may well need to be done. And I am a believer in pacifism in many contexts. But to me, it's also part of the idea of you can't impose change on a whole culture and get them to forget tradition and history and all of this overnight. And, I think that, as you kind of pointed out, the Mandalore culture we see a couple generations later, by the time of the Mandalore TV show, has kind of swung really far the other way with the Children of the Watch and stuff like that. And I think that's partially a reaction to what Satine is doing here. That I honor the idea of that the warrior past is holding us back, that we're fighting too much with each other, that we need to restrain it somewhat. But I feel like she needs to go slower and not quite as extreme.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like you know, a little bit similar to what's happened in the US in regards to like, I think that for so long, like we as a country, like, just said, oh, people that like have, Donald Trump's ideals, either they don't exist or like they're a dying breed or they're very small. We just kept ignoring, pushing down and like kind of denying outwardly. And then as soon as like those individuals got a little bit of power, like we see that like there was weirdly half the country actually
Mhm.
believes in that. And so like I think that by like trying to suppress any one belief, so like her saying we have to be pacifist, everyone wants to be pacifist, only a small group wants to be, warriors, like it seemed like it was a lot more split than that. And I think that by trying to suppress one side, you like kind of like, bring the other one out more. It's kind of I always think of it's a little different, but like in episode 4, when Leia says to Tarkin, the more you tighten your grip, the more systems slip out of your slip through your grasp or slip through your fingers. Like
Right.
the tighter that like Satine tries to like say like, no, we don't need any help. No, like we are fine. Everyone wants to be a pacifist. The more of it's going to be rebellion and more of it's going to be like, issues that I think happen within the country.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's right. And I think that's why I do also think Satine is right that if you bring in the Jedi, it will just push the planet right into the hands of Death Watch.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. She has their number on that one. Like if you incite more violence and more political and wartime involvement, you're just going to encourage our terrorist group.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you look at places like Iran or Cuba or other places like that. A lot of it was, a lot of like the rabidly anti-American feelings in those places is because America was helping to prop up governments that people didn't like. Same with in South Vietnam, definitely. What else about these episodes do we want to get into?
Well, just briefly, it was kind of like the actual assassination attempt of Satine was kind of silly. They snuck on 2 droids, who then gave birth to a bunch of little droids. Went to kill her in an unknown way. Do we ever see these droids like fire blasters or lasers or anything? Or they just kind of we just saw them like overwhelm a clone trooper and I guess like stab them to death with their little feet.
I don't know.
It just felt very it felt very episode 2, like, Palpatine sends Dooku, sends Jango, sends Zam, sends droid, sends worms to kill, Padme.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up is that, are you saying that the little spider droids don't live up to the proud assassination history of the Separatists as exposed by, I have a direct shot to hit you, and instead I'm going to drop these 2 little worms?
Because that's better.
Yeah.
Did I freeze there?
No.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I don't know. It just felt very silly, but it was also kind of fun. I mean, it was like Anakin and the clones were looking in the dark for these droids. And they find this protocol droid who's like, yeah, that was here. Yeah, that was allowed. We're good. Always allowed on the ship. It just felt very silly and dystopian. And then upstairs, Satine and Obi-Wan are having their little, back and forth in front of the senators, and Orn Free Todd just wants to eat food. It just felt like very silly to me, the whole encounter, while having very serious undertones.
That's the thing. Nula is apparently their version of chicken.
It was silly, but also like as a 10-year-old watching this episode, like that's a horror movie. That's a horror movie.
No,
seeing
for sure.
the clones go through the storage container. What do they call it? I don't know, the hull, the brig, whatever the fuck. And just them being like, what could be wrong? Also, just so you guys know,
Cargo bay.
In my cargo bay, thank you. Deep in my obsession of any and all clones related to Star Wars, I did in fact write down the names of Red Eye and Mixer, I believe was the other clone's name, because I wanted to know as many clones as I possibly could. And they're both fallen. So yeah, like you said, Alex, R.I.P. to our boys.
Rip in peace,
and the way that the assassin droid picked up the body of Red Eye and was puppeting it like it was a real person. fucking horrifying, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Horrifying.
I hadn't remembered much about this episode, so at first I was like, "Wait, is this when we get zombie clones?"
Not yet.
They do a great shot of it first, just showing you the
No,
clone
give it a few
body
episodes.
working like that, and then you pull back enough that you can see the spider kind of puppeting it. But yeah, they definitely did a kind of slow reveal there, and I can totally see why, to a younger age, that would be very horrific,
It was scary.
very scary.
And then we get to the third episode where Palpatine is essentially trying to craft misinformation to force an invasion of Mandalore, because the undertone there, I believe, is because the Emperor, future Emperor Palpatine, believes that Mandalore is one of the few races that could actually potentially be a threat to a future empire.
Right.
Which is obviously why we see in the Mandalorian, we have the Night of 1,000 Tears and all those horrible things. But he's so close to fabricating information, killing officials, and getting warships to invade. And it's crazy. The Senate is not listening to the actual ruler of Mandalore. It would be like if at the United Nations, France was we do not need outside help. We're handling our little thing ourselves. And everyone said, actually, no, we're going to send every freaking warship the entire world has to your doorstep, France, to attack you or to solve your problem. It just felt very it was one of the bigger power grabs I'd seen Palpatine try so far in the show.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because he's not only going after a huge pacifist planet, but he's going after the head of the systems that do not want to be involved in this war. He is
Right.
trying to bite the snake at the head and take them out.
Right. Because it's going to take them out. It's going to put a lot of them towards the separatist side of well, the Republic didn't respect our neutrality. And I think it's putting the Republic, can you imagine if the Republic had to fight against Mandalore? That would have taken so much. I think the separatists would win because that's just it's adding a third front kind of a thing in terms of how many people they have to fight and how many talented warriors they have to fight. Because much as Satine doesn't want to admit this, the warrior culture is still alive and well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to wrap up, so you go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was just going to say that I felt like the third episode to me, I mean, it was interesting from a senatorial perspective, but I think the biggest takeaways for me were from these arcs were the interesting revelations on Obi-Wan's history with Satine and admittance of his love for her and kind of learning more about his past. The introduction of Satine. I'm sorry. One more thing unless we talked about it while I was off the mic there for a minute. The introduction of the Darksaber occurred in this arc.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I wanted to talk about that briefly. This is where we learn, because Pre Vizsla, basically Obi-Wan challenges him to one-on-one combat on the moon of Concordia to defend Satine, and Pre Vizsla pulls out the Darksaber and reveals the history of that it was, built by the first Mandalorian Jedi and then later stolen by the Vizsla clan. Or is Pre Vizsla the Jedi and Paz Vizsla the one who's fighting? What are the Vizslas?
Pre Vizsla is the one that's fighting them.
Who was the Jedi?
He's saying how we murdered the Jedi, and when the fall of the Old Republic happened, we took this Darksaber. I don't think he even mentions
Tar
that in the
Vizsla.
past-
He did. Tar Vizsla.
I don't.
Yeah, he
Let's not
said.
get
He
into
says.
that. I think it's going way down too far into detail.
Okay,
Just
point
let's
is, introduces the Darksaber. You get to see a really unique weapon for the first time, and Obi-Wan is very surprised by his existence. You get the beginning of the lore that is deepened in later episodes, but it was very cool to see that introduced in this arc, and it is then continued obviously through the Clone Wars, Rebels, the Mandalorian, through so many different properties, and it started in this arc.
Yeah, no, that's right. I forgot that this is the first time we see the Darksaber, and it's such a fantastic thing. And it's, it's animated as though it's an inverse of a lightsaber because the way the colors are reversed. It's black, but then has the different outline, and it's just, it's I can't even describe it, but it looks so cool, and it's just great seeing that this really shows how much. It's not that the Mandalorians are the best fighters in the world; it's that they've dedicated themselves entirely to learning how to fight the Jedi. And then even without the Force, they're pretty damn good at fighting the Jedi.
And a huge thing for the dark saber is like even the noise it makes is different. Like lightsaber is like meow meow. The dark saber is like sing sing.
Right.
Like it's like it sounds sharper. It sounds more deadly. It sounds more scary,
More Mandalorian.
more Mandalorian, more vital to this fight.
And just tying it all together, learning more about how the Mandalorian warrior culture is built specifically to fight Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mhm.
clones are all clones of Mandalorians and use Mandalorian fighting techniques. Why? Because at the end of the day, Palpatine made them to fight the Jedi.
It really just deepened all around the lore around Mandalore
Yeah.
significantly, and Obi-Wan, honestly. And like we will revisit in future arcs how this continues. But this arc is one of my favorites because it does so much in such a short amount of time. George Lucas knew what he was doing, y'all.
Yeah. To me, this arc,
Yeah.
when I talk about how the Clone Wars really helps to answer a lot of the questions that you can say that either they improve the prequels or they're standing for the prequels or however you want to say it, this arc is one of the top of where I can point to so many things in this arc of this really helps us understand how we get to from Phantom Menace to Rise of the Sith or whatever the hell the movie's called, Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
So good arc. Thank you, Alex, for picking it.
Yes.
Aaron, you want to give us a sneak peek of what episodes we're going to be doing next week?
Oh shit. I
Don't
was.
worry.
It's gonna be the Geonosian arc. I'm gonna tell you that
Yeah.
right now. It's gonna be the Brain Invaders because that was my personal horror film as a child. I watched that episode so many fucking
Hold on a
times.
second.
You
Let me
guys have
quick
no
Google
idea.
which ones those are.
You have no idea how many times I watched the Brain Invaders episode because it was the only ones that were free on Cartoon Network at the time, and I don't care because they were good. They
Mhm.
were
Kids these days don't know
good.
the struggle.
And it shows us Ahsoka as like a autonomous being, not just as a Padawan. And it shows us this new Padawan that we never would have met, someone much calmer, someone much more decisive than Ahsoka, one
Yeah.
might say. And to see a Jedi so solid and so in the quote quote Jedi standards to kind of struggle and fall to this point of being literally possessed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was tough
Those are my
scenes for
favorite
Barris.
episodes
Yeah,
of
I-
season
scenes.
2. So we'll be
It's-
talking about those.
I believe it's episodes 6, 7, and 8, possibly 9. But yeah, if you want to watch those and get ready for it, within a week or two, we'll be talking about the Geonosis arc. with
Brain
Aaron.
Invaders.
Everybody, thank you all so much for listening. Please let us know what you think. Send us your feedback. Please check out all the ways you can find the great content being made by both of my co-hosts, as well as all the stuff that I do under The Ethical Panda. Thank you and good night.
Stay classy, Concord Dawn.
I have to tell you, I'm opposed to all of this. I'd be disappointed if you weren't.